Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I thought I would chat a little bit with you guys about intermittent fasting because this always comes up a bit, and people may or may not know I actually use even a little bit of it myself while I'm losing body fat right now. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. Before people jump up and say, don't knock it till you've tried it, I'm not knocking intermittent fasting. I use it a little bit myself. I have used it in the past. So I don't know why people say silly stuff like that. But what we need to be honest with ourselves about is what these things actually do. When you use any sort of tool, you can't get caught up in the hype and the crazy ideas that people have, because people come up with all of these ideas like, oh, well, it elevates HGH and everything. Well, yeah, so what? Like, here's the question I would ask the people who say things like that. Do you really think that you're getting some major benefit from that? I mean, has anyone ever seen a human clinical trial to where people using $1,000 or more worth of growth hormone a month gained any muscle from it? Because it's been studied, you don't gain muscle from elevated HGH levels, even when you are using amounts 3-4 times what the human body could ever produce, right? It doesn't cause muscle growth directly, though there's a synergy with that in anabolics. But what people need to remember, they'll say silly stuff like, well, it elevates growth hormone. No, it doesn't elevate it 800%. All right, your fasted window doesn't. You do increase growth hormone, but you know what? That happens between meals after it's been a few hours since you've eaten also. That's normal. And what usually is found with people who do intermittent fasting, if you're on a 3,200 calorie a day diet and you choose to eat it all in a 6-hour window and fast for 18, versus if you spread it out over 12 hours, like normal people, most people have about a 12-hour feed window on average, you produce the same amount of growth hormone through the day. Yes, it's elevated during your fasted window, but it also goes up and down in between your meals for the person who spaces them out, and the production is going to be related to that. In other words, the more total calories you eat, probably the less growth hormone you produce through the day, and the lower your calories, the more you produce, and it's going to even out through the day. And does anyone think eating less calories or being in a fasted period of time is ideal for muscle growth? No, it's not. It's not ideal for muscle growth. You're not gaining muscle during this. You're not gaining a lot of muscle during your 18-hour fasted window, maybe during the initial parts. So people need to keep that in perspective, and that's one of the things that experts who look at this, who really work with athletes and have to have people recovering and gaining muscle, you could potentially hinder muscle growth if you're fasting for no reason. Even if you're eating the same amount of calories, you're just not getting enough total protein and amino acid intake distribution to maximize your growth time every day. All right, you're not. It can interfere with that. So it's by no means should be used during any sort of phase where you are trying to actively gain large amounts of muscle. It can potentially hinder that. It's silly. Now, for weight management, it's a valuable tool. It's a valuable tool because it helps people restrict calories. And it's the same with me. Like right now, because I'm not lifting on the weekends, I fast in the morning. I don't eat breakfast. Why? Because I'm not getting up squatting. I'm not squatting at 9 a.m. If I'm not going to get up and squat at 9 a.m. like I do Monday through Friday, I don't necessarily need that. I'm trying to actively lose body weight and body fat right now. So it makes sense. Now, the point would be, because I eat a large amount of protein, I probably have access to, some amino acids there to help stave off muscle loss during the fasted window. So that helps because I eat a lot of protein before bed. It's not uncommon for me close to bedtime to have 100 plus grams of protein. Well, that takes a while to digest and assimilate, so at least that'll have some muscle sparing effect. Even when I'm in my fasted window, and that's fine, and it helps me eat less calories. If I don't start eating until noon or 1 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to eat less calories, right? And since I'm not training those days, my need for calories isn't quite as high because I've got the weekend where I'm not training. I don't need as many calories, and so it works out fine. That's a valuable tool for using fasting for fat loss. You cut down your feed window in a day, you're going to potentially eat less calories. It's easier to manage your calories. And not everyone finds this to be a successful method. Not everyone finds it to be a successful method. And a lot of people have ideas like, well, you're going to get all these health benefits from it. Well, no, there's a few doctors who think so. And it's being studied, but it hasn't been particularly promising. And I know people say, well, this one doctor, Dr. Fung or whatever, but the other experts don't agree with what he's saying. And people are taking a lot of it out of context. I mean, they'll hear him say something about autophagy and then think that it's a magical good thing in all cases. Well, in some cases, autophagy is bad, right? That is a very complex term with a lot of different things going on in the body, and to jump up and just assume that it's something beneficial, or they come up with silly stuff like your fasting, intermittent fasting cleanses your body cells and all this other silly nonsense, guys. This is you're getting ridiculous. That's not what the data is showing. And the same thing, people will say, well, all these different cultures around the world do fasting, so what? Different cultures around the world do all sorts of silly stuff that doesn't necessarily improve your health. And I mean, let's be realistic here. This idea that people are getting into New Age hippie nonsense if they're going to say, well, 6 different religions. It's like, okay, yeah, because you think 6 different religions are all the truth. I mean, there's what you're also saying. Essentially, if you're going to say that, wow, we found 6 different spiritual beliefs around the world that use intermittent fasting of some type. Well, what if those are all conflicting religious beliefs? I mean, that's not helpful. That's not scientific. That's not looking what's going on at the body. Because by that same token, I'm sure you can find things that these 6 different beliefs completely disagree on also. So which one is the right one? I mean, that's not how you go about determining scientific truth, looking at the number of religions that practice a given practice around the world. Now, you might say, well, maybe these different cultures over the world seem to have found some benefit. Well, you go study and you look for the benefit and see if it's really there. All right, it might give you an interesting direction to go down, but you don't jump up and use that as evidence of something working, because I can assure you can find things that all 6 of those religions do that's moronic also, that might even hurt your health, that might not be good in any way. So then where are you? You're back to looking silly. What we need to be looking at is what we can measure, what's realistic. And I'm not telling people that, if you have a religion that fasts, that you're wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that finding out, that multiple spiritual belief systems around the world utilize something in their diet, that suddenly is something that everyone choosing health and athleticism or have fitness goals should be doing because of that. That's not a good reason to use a method for body composition or performance or health or anything else, right? That doesn't make it a good method. That's not the correct approach to take for that. So my point is that ultimately people need to remember intermittent fasting is a tool for managing your calories that works well for some people. It doesn't work for everyone. Some people even overeat when they do intermittent fasting. There are some people who do find it easier to overeat because they tend to just gorge themselves. And again, something that you need to consider. There are also, for people who do too much extensive intermittent fasting, there's some concerns of it actually negatively affecting things like insulin sensitivity, right? There are concerns of that. So, I mean, as far as the health ramifications go, there's some potential good, some potential bad. There's a lot of mixed data on this, but which means that we don't have something that is clearly, obviously good for you. When we're getting different mixed data and different good things, different bad things, different findings out there, that's something that we can't just jump up and say, oh, it must be a good thing then, because it's obviously not the case. But as far as a calorie management tool and diet adherence tool, sure, it has merit. It can have value, and particularly if it works well for you. If it works well for you, then by all means, utilize it for fat loss. Right? I mean, it makes sense to look, if your goal is fat loss right now and minimizing muscle loss, then, and if you find something like intermittent fasting to be a valuable tool for you personally doing that, then use that tool, right? Use that tool. But just be aware it's not some perfect method with all these other mystical, magical benefits that people try to ascribe to it like they do everything else. There are some insanely unhealthy diets that people try to ascribe mystical powers to. All right, like ketogenic diets. That's a perfect example. All right, these are just tools in your toolbox. And when you understand that and you understand what they are, it allows you to make the best use of those tools and have realistic expectations of what you are going to get from that each individual tool. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.